Hello, my name is Tasha Hungate. I am a current junior at the school. I am also able to participate in volleyball, which is a great experience. Today we just wanted to answer some common questions that a lot of student athletes have. We have a lot of great athletes here today, and if the next person could introduce themselves, that would be great.
I'm Coley Stewart. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a current freshman at Evergreen, and I play soccer.
My name is Joshua Broughton. My pronouns are he/him. I'm currently a redshirt junior at Evergreen, and my focus is social media marketing, and I'm a member of both basketball and track and field.
My name is Sage. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a sophomore here at Evergreen. I'm studying environmental science with an emphasis in marine biology, and I compete on the women's volleyball team, and I also throw javelin for the track and field program.
Okay, my name is Imani Dunn, and I use she, her pronouns. I am a senior, and my study at Evergreen has been an academic transformative education study, and I play basketball.
My name's Lexi. I use she, her pronouns. I am currently a sophomore at Evergreen, and I am studying elementary education, and I am on the volleyball and track and field teams.
My name is Kenyasa, but some people know me as Sasa. I'm a senior graduating in the spring. I'm very excited about that. My academic focus was political science, and I played 4 years of men's soccer.
Perfect. And for those who don't know, Evergreen has 6 different sports. So we have men and women's soccer, basketball, track and field, and women's volleyball. For this first question, we're talking about what division and conference does Evergreen compete in? If you could answer this, Lexi, that would be great.
Yeah, so Evergreen's a part of the NAIA, and we are a part of the CCC, which is the Cascade Collegiate Conference.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, this next question is for Kenyasa and Sage. If students' class schedules are determined by their academic program, how do athletes plan the time around that for practice and games, and how about travel?
I would say that one of the most important things is to communicate with your faculty. And this makes it really easy, especially at Evergreen, because our class sizes are pretty small. So you can maintain a really good relationship with your faculty. And in addition to that, a little pro tip is that if you, during your season, I would look for a program that aligns obviously with your academic focus, but then also doesn't have class on Fridays. And that was super helpful for me because I was able to avoid missing class while also still participating in all of my games and giving myself room for travel.
I would just add to that one thing that I do at the beginning of the program is I just take in my schedule to my faculty so they know exactly where I'm going to be on what days, and just really communicate to them that, constantly help me out here, and I will do my best for you. And then you can also work ahead of time to get your assignments done before you go on road trips, or you can bring your work with you and do homework on the buses or in the hotel rooms, study with your teammates, whatever you need to do. But faculty have been very gracious in my experience in helping keep you on track.
Thank you guys both so much. Our next question is for Colby. In general, how easy is it to balance playing for Evergreen while keeping up academically and having a social life?
I would say that it wasn't really something that was challenging for me. I mean, it might change as I get into tougher programs over the next couple of years, but I've kind of known the expectation of having to continue to communicate with all of my coaches and teachers. So also making sure that I have a planner is really important. So I have all my due dates written down, and days that I have games. So my coaches will know if I'm missing a practice because of outside class commitments, or my teachers know that I'm not going to be at class because of games. And also, I don't think my social life is something that is really affected because there's always maybe a couple of hours during the week I have time to see some friends, but even if I don't, I always am able to keep in contact with them over social media.
Perfect. Thank you, Colby. Okay, this next question is for Amani and Kenyasa. If Evergreen doesn't have grades, how do coaches make sure that players are making academic progress? And do evaluations affect your eligibility?
What I know is that coaches will use a piece of paper that has our credits and a signature required for our faculty to sign. And if you build a good relationship with your faculty, it's pretty easy to know where you stand as far in credits, especially if they're asking for the credit information like right in between like the seasons. Sometimes it can be difficult. What they do is they have to sign it, and just basically reaffirms the coaches that you're eligible to play. And sometimes even coaches might even email your professors to even see how you're doing too, to keep up with you a little bit.
I'll speak only for men's soccer at the moment, because our coach, big shout out to John, understands that we are student athletes and academics come first. And in terms of keeping up with how we're doing in class, we have a 5-week, I would call it, for lack of a better word, a progress report, just to check in with our professors to see how we're doing and making sure we're on track to getting all of our credits, which is very helpful in eventually being eligible.
Okay, thank you guys. I also know a big thing is to stay eligible is to compete in 12 credits for each quarter. With saying that, it is okay if you do 12 or 16 per quarter, as long as you're making sure that you get 36 credits by the end of the year. That is what makes you eligible to compete for the next sport. This next question is for Josh and Lexi. What are Evergreen's athletic facilities like?
I can speak for myself. I spend most of my time in the CRC. I think the CRC is one of the better places on campus, especially if you want, I think, the total Evergreen experience, I would say, because you can use not only the pool, you can use a climbing wall, which is a really big thing with our patrons. Also, the gym is regularly open, if not used by the sporting teams, and as well as the weight rooms. All are like hot spots on campus. So yeah.
I just want to add, we also have the outdoor facilities, which include the pavilion, which is an indoor soccer field. And then there's the outdoor soccer fields. Around the main soccer field is also a track, and we have a throwing circle for track and field athletes as well.
Okay, this question is great for Colby and Sage, as you guys have been the most recent in the housing situation. So what is the housing situation for athletes on campus?
All right, so because this was my first year, I stayed in the dorms along with other first-year athletes from other sports. So it was a really cool opportunity to get to know people outside of my sport.
Yeah, so just like Colby, I was in the dorms as well. I started out in the apartments before school started, and then moved into the dorms for my first year. And then through the dorms, I actually met my fellow athletes because we were all living on the same floor. And then I moved into a house with 3 other volleyball girls. So that's where I live now.
Can you, Sage, because I know you were pretty active with your roommates, what's something that the floors would often do? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I remember in the summertime, something fun that we did, we had like a water fight out in the big field with like water balloons. We'd also do movie nights in our common spaces in the dorms.
Being on a floor with mostly athletes is nice because you're around other peers who are in a similar situation with you. So you're working, they're also doing practices in school and juggling that, but then also being able to stay social with them is nice to be a part of, like, the dorm community.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The next question is for Lexi and Imani. What kind of scholarship opportunities does Evergreen offer for student athletes?
Well, what I know is that Evergreen tends to offer a partial scholarship where it covers your tuition. So it doesn't cover your housing, but there is a plethora of money open to student athletes for tuition, as far as even academic wise. There's even academic grants that they drop in your scholarship as well. So I've gotten that personally. I've gotten academic grants, and I've gotten an academic, I mean, not academic, but a athlete scholarship as well. So I've gotten partial, and over the course of the years, it's been pretty consistent. And then my senior year, sometimes they will offer just a little bit more. I've personally got just a tiny bit more for my senior year, so that was a blessing to have, and it helped out a lot just for me to pursue my college career and my academics.
Another thing that's really cool about being a student athlete is the NAIA allows both academic and athletic scholarship. So we can receive scholarships from both your coaches and also academically. And something that Evergreen just did recently to improve their application process for their academic scholarships is that everything is through like one application, and that applies you to be eligible for any scholarship that Evergreen offers for undergrads.
Thank you. Okay, this next question is for Colby and Josh. If I'm accepted to Evergreen, what do I need to do to be eligible to play for the school?
I can start with freshman eligibility. So you just need to have your NAIA eligibility completed and also have a 2.0 GPA or higher. Also, normally you would need an ACT score of 16 or higher, or a SAT score of 980, I think it is, or higher, but due to the pandemic, it's not.
For transfers, you need to, I believe you're supposed to have at least 180 credits, but that can be tricky with Evergreen. I learned, so if you're going to transfer, I would say you want upwards to like somewhere, I guess like 190 to 200 credits, because some of my credits didn't transfer over to Evergreen. So having more than 180 is ideal. And you also still need to, like Kobe said, you have to have, I think, over a 2.0. And you also need to go through the NAIA as well, the clearinghouse. And you're supposed to make a profile, I think, as well. And yeah.
Thank you, guys. I know we also have some great resources on campus that ahead of time can go over what credits you need and what credits may not be accepted. But in general, I think that Evergreen's pretty good about accepting most of their credits. The next question is kind of a fun question. What's the story with Evergreen's mascot, Speedy the Geoduck?
Well, we have a pretty cool mascot, the Geoduck. It is constantly on like the weirdest, most baffling top 10 lists for college mascots. It's pretty awesome. I think we should be on Ellen. But it comes from the Lushootseed language from several Salish tribes in modern-day Washington state, and it means dig deep. So that's kind of a really important phrase that we actually use a lot. But it is the longest living animal of any type. It is also a bivalve mollusk. It is the largest burrowing clam in the world. So yeah, pretty cool mascot.
This next phrase kind of goes along with something that Sage said. What does the phrase dig deep mean to you? And this question goes out to all of our athletes that we have here today.
The way I envision and interpret dig deep is that no matter the odds, no matter how good the opponent is, as long as you dig deep with your buddies and your teammates, you can beat anybody. And in the context of men's soccer, you can also clamp anybody on the field as well. So that is what dig deep means for me.
I can go next. For me, it means always willing to do the extra work, whether that be on the field, on the court, and also in the classroom and just in life, because I feel like we're all faced with difficult decisions every day, some more important than others, but you always have to be willing to work as hard as you can and dig deep and work through those problems. So that's what it means for me.
For me, I've used Dig Deep more so when it comes to life, because like being able to balance school and basketball and other outside things as well is definitely difficult at times. But knowing that I have such a phrase to back me up and be able to push me to be able to be the person I am today is wonderful. And I guess like it's been very, very important for me to have this phrase in my life. And just it basically describes my college experience. It's basically describes me pushing past like certain barriers and certain things that try to set me back, but I was able to persevere. So this phrase, dig deep, is awesome.
That was great. To me, digging deep means living your life with intention and taking control. So if that's on the court, you know, showing up every single day to practice, wanting to get better, having that intention, not just going through the motions. That means in the classroom with your education, really diving into your learning, asking why, what does this mean? And then integrating that into your life, you know, teaching yourself and others, and seeing that in the world around you instead of just maybe regurgitating information for a test like at a traditional school. And then also taking care of your physical and mental health so that you can be present in all areas of your life is really important. So that's what digging deep means to me.
Well, I think I'm still kind of processing like what it really does mean to me since it's my first year. But I think I've done a lot of like growing through like critical thinking and all of my like morals, which is like really important. And it's something I hadn't like realized until the beginning of this quarter. But overall, I would say it's probably just continuing to having like a positive mindset, especially when things are like really hard, and just choosing to persevere through everything. So
For me, digging deep, like a lot of what other people were saying, I think of it not just like in a school or sports setting, but as like a lifestyle. And all of the challenges that we face on our daily basis, like I'm always just reminded of like this little motto, this little saying that all of my teammates say, everybody on campus knows about, and it's just like digging deep to get the job done and to accomplish our goals, both like academically and athletically and just for your future.
Great, thank you guys. I know dig deep for me really matches the word perseverance. And just as kind of Amani, you talked about, like not just in athletics, but also in life. I think it's something that is a great motto, and I'm glad we really have introduced it to Evergreen, and that it is something we all kind of live by and work with. Okay, well, that is the end of our questions. So thank you, everybody, for being available to answer these questions, and to anyone tuning in to watch. You can go to goGUIDEX.com to find all of our sports schedules and any other information. If you have any other questions about Evergreen, you're more than welcome to watch some of the other student ambassador Q&As that are also posted. Have a great day, and go GUIDEX.